Here we go. So Martha's book. So they start off with a bunch of workshops, really, and so it can be a little bit bitty at the start. And she's left some spaces here, which is really good. And there's a kind of very broad, scattered sort of mind map. There's layers to it. So she's got some found images, some printed images, and so on. But at the start, really, it's quite hard to see what the theme even is, although it's, loosely speaking, it's to do with the self, which covers just about everything. But we've got some interesting visual things going on here, some thought gone into selecting. They kind of they fit together in quite a sort of coherent way in terms of the visuals. And also I know she's kind of dug up some quite specific stuff. You know, she's looked at quite specific sort of colours, groupings, things from the past, essentially, and also different formats. So already we know we've got a range of business going on, and we've got someone who's done the bit which says explore on the sheet. It says explore, you need to explore. I'm getting a feeling here that this student is doing some exploring, because it's not the first things that come up. So it's good to leave some spaces, because you go back through the spaces and fill in the gap of the story or that starts to develop. You know, if things start to connect up, like a style starts to emerge, or particular focus on artist starts to emerge, then a story builds up. This is an exercise that was done for the whole class, but actually I'm looking again to see where, a few blank pages here and there, where elements of a student might have actually kind of brought in their own perspective. So we've got some good observational drawing going on here. Pages filling up. Be nice to see the rest of that filled in, I think. And I'd like to start seeing how that links up, possibly even at this early stage, to these Van Gogh paintings, or even the collage here. I'm looking for links, how these things link up. That's nice to see a full page study experiment. I'm not identifying that as a particular artist. I'm thinking that is the actual student's room. So it'd be nice to see some photographs where this was, inspired by. So maybe 3 or 4 sheets of photographs. So we're thinking, how does this person handle a camera? And it's coming up. Here we go. So we've got 4 pictures. They're a sort of 4x3 standard kind of format. It would be nice to see a little bit more experimentation with lighting, times of day, the position of the camera, perhaps, the content. We're getting bits and pieces going on here. I'm thinking that this person probably had several more photographs that they haven't actually decided to print up. They're printed up quite nicely, so I'm thinking whether maybe it makes sense to actually print stuff up just from the printer here, because we get a sense that these are selected. These are 5 photographs selected from a whole range. And again, we've already got little bits of choice of collage business going on. Like, what's all this about? Why did she choose these things? Questions are getting kicked up. Some more portrait business going on. Felt tips, always a bit cautious with felt tips. You get felt tips involved and you've got stuff coming through on the back. But also you've got no chance of changing the tone, really. We're stuck with one tone with a felt tip, which is fine if you're looking at someone like Michael Craig-Martin, but a little bit like you'd lose it or it gets splodgy here if you're dealing with looking at a face. So I would use those with caution. Nice to see lots of writing there. Could be typed, could be highlighted maybe for specific things. There's an artist, Michael Chance. For imagination, it'd be nice to see a bit more work on imagination, because that's kind of it, I think, for the moment. Although we've got good connections to contextual references to other artists. We definitely got someone who's a bit of a maker and experimenter here. Again, we're seeing that reference to performance artist. Again, it's the first book I've seen with someone that they've actually found their own performance artist. Now, we did a load of performances. All right, another experiment here. That's good to see. This is good to see. When the felt tip's kind of playing more of a role, it's gone a bit cartoony, gone a bit like it's a sort of slight sort of look of almost play school, if you like, but next to things that are clearly more expressive. Don't necessarily need to have a signature on the thing, because again, that kicks up questions. It's like, well, do we need to know it was her, and is there a sort of particular reason why we need to know it was her who did the painting and so on? And then I think we got some more loose abstract experiments. Nice to see a bit of mess. That's good. Bit linear. It's going a bit linear. I'm curious about that. How do we know what this is about and why this is done in this way? We don't. Let's get some animation. Also, a bit more work on the fingers. Check out how the fingers are broken down to basically little cylinders that are attached to something that's kind of rectangular. Have a good old look at how those fingers are going. Moving on. Michael Chance in more depth. Great. More collage type stuff. Another artist that the person found on their own. That's good. Similar to earlier drawings, might be kind of nice to see how it links to what's going on now. Your photos, I would spread them out. I'd have them so that you got maybe 3 or 4 sheets. I want to see these big. You know, what's going on with this lot? I see them bigger. Black Mountain movement. Quotes, maybe? I think all that's in the pipeline. That's to come. So, out of this lot, I'd like to see more photographs of what was done in the group work out in the corridor. So, a good load of pages on that, so we can see what you've done in response to the performance art that you've looked at and the performance stuff that we've done. But other than that, we're looking at the right kind of scale and volume of work to be with a bit of a push to be finishing this book before Christmas. And all in all, not a bad start.